Hello, Reagan. It's so good to see you.
Hi, Whitney. It's good to see you too.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. Would you mind introducing yourself and then we'll get to your story?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Reagan Deming. I live in a small town in Texas, Central Texas, Granbury. I was born and raised here, and I did not grow up in the church. I met my husband in high school. Well, I suppose we might have met sometime before that. We went to school together. He was the same age as
Hmm.
my middle brother, so we were in choir and everything together. And he and I started dating his senior year in high school and my sophomore year in high school. So I was 15 when I first came to meeting. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the basics of how I connect to
Yeah.
everybody here.
Yeah. Would you mind talking a little bit about what that's like going to meeting as a 15-year-old?
Yeah. So I guess I'll give a little bit of background before that because so it doesn't necessarily
Mm.
connect with meeting. It definitely like informs a lot of the rest of my life. So I grew up
Hmm.
with two alcoholic parents. So both of my
Hmm.
parents were like heavy drinkers, verbally abusive of each other, and then there was physical abuse between the two of them. And then in my eighth grade year, um, I actually asked my dad to stop drinking. And like I was in the car with him and he could see me through his rear view mirror and I saw that he started to cry from it and he stopped drinking after that until I graduated high school. So like going from having no parents to having a stable dad was definitely like it made me go from realizing like thinking that I didn't matter to realizing like, oh, hey, somebody cares about me and I do matter. So
Hmm.
my dad did start drinking again later, but he's 11 years sober now, so that's amazing. So my husband and I we started dating and I so my childhood was very chaotic and very unreliable and my middle brother and I we sought out churches to find like I went to every single church in town at least once as a kid,
Hmm.
not with my parents, just with friends, like going to all the different churches. So I always had this like really strong desire to both connect to the like to a Christian group as a whole, but
Hmm.
also to God. And
Hmm.
so I had a hunger and I always wanted more.
Yeah.
So whenever I first came to meeting with Matt, it was very weird because of course it is. It's very different and just how quiet it was, and I just kind of accepted the rules for dress and everything. Like I
Hmm.
followed along just because I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to fit in and for people to accept me and all of that. So and I wore skirts and my mom already made me have long hair anyway, so I had
Hmm.
long hair to begin with. I fit right in, kind of. So I was still very much emotionally unhealthy at that point in time, and we ended up breaking up my senior year in high school, and then we got back together, and then we kind of almost broke up again, and it was going back and forth a lot, and then I got pregnant. So
Hmm.
um, I will say, like, my parents didn't have the conversation with me, uh, other than
Hmm.
like my dad sat me down on his knee one time when I was a kid and he was drunk and he said, "Don't let boys touch you," and that was basically it.
Hmm.
And then for
Hmm.
my
Right.
husband, he also his parents didn't talk about it either. It's the whole like purity culture thing, like you just don't
Hmm.
mention it, and then so there was a lot of shame involved with that, and so I found out I was pregnant and. I well, I guess just before we thought maybe I might be. And I said that I wanted to give the baby up for adoption. And Matt, on the other hand, said, well, I want to marry you. So I took a few days and then I took the pregnancy test and found out it was positive and I was like, all right, let's do it. And so we
Hmm.
got married 3 months later and that was, like a rushed wedding, but it turned out beautiful. It was a lovely wedding. Uh like so before this I will say that like trying to fit into his family was a little bit difficult. Some of them were very accepting of me and then
Mhm.
Others, because like dating outside of meeting is like a no-no for some
Right.
families. And
Mhm.
so it was a really big deal to a few people. And I was both accepted and not at the same time, both like they wanted me there, and I was this awful temptation to my husband that was, going to lead him away
Mm.
from the church and everything. And also his family, because we went to the same school, his family knew my family and they knew my mom, and my mom is like off the deep end alcoholic, showing up to the high school trying to help, with school stuff, drunk. And it was just so
Mhm.
automatically assuming that I'm part of that, which of course that does, I understand. But so there was a lot
Mhm.
of shame on that. And I felt like I had to work extra hard to just be able to be there and like
Mhm.
talked to even.
Yeah, right.
So, but the meeting here was actually, the actual meeting itself was very open and loving and accepting of me. So it was a weird
Mhm.
mix of responses. So we had
Mhm.
our daughter in 2007.
Mhm.
She's now 18. We didn't go to meetings for the first few years of our marriage. It felt a lot like, I don't know, that everybody knew that we had had sex outside of marriage and all of that. So,
Yeah.
like, it just automatically felt like, even if they weren't, it felt like they were judging us. I even got a letter from a lady that was, I know she meant well, but it did not come across. Like it just
Mm.
like made us all
Mhm.
like kind of bow up and not want to go to a meeting more. But she said, that we should go to meeting just for our daughter's sake.
Mhm.
So we were living about an hour and a half away from Matt's family. And when our daughter got to be kindergarten age, we decided to move back home. So we moved back to
Mhm.
Granbury, and we were started going to meeting again very regularly after that. They all were just so glad that we were there, and it was fine. Everything was fine at
Mhm.
that point. Then we decided that it was time to have another baby.
Mhm.
So this may seem like too much information, but it connects. Um,
I'm following. I'm
and
following.
so in 2013, I got pregnant again, and then at 28 weeks in, she wasn't moving as much, and so I was
Mhm.
like, it was that whole day I could tell that something was off because she was a super active baby. And so I'm like pressing on my belly and everything, trying, like actually feeling her inside, trying to get her to move, and just no response. So I ended up going
Mm.
to the hospital. Matt was working nights at that point, and Matt's mom went with me. She she absolutely was an amazing person in my life. She was just so loving, and she was more a mom to me than my own mom. So I I can't say how much I love Anita. So we went to the hospital. She actually ended up going home to be with Ari, our daughter. Also, this happened the night of Ari's kindergarten, first day in kindergarten. So she goes to kindergarten
Okay.
that night. I go to the hospital. She wakes up and mom's not here and Grammy's here instead. So then they do the ultrasound and they say, well, her heart's still beating. She's still alive, but there's something wrong with her intestines. So I have to be care flighted to another hospital. We do an emergency C-section, and then they do surgery I think is the next day, and they have to remove a section of her intestines because they were dead. So she's 28 weeks, teeny tiny, like 3.5 pounds, I
Mhm.
think, just the scrawniest little legs and arms is
Mhm.
and she's in, the NICU with all the stuff, and you can't hold her for a while. Then we find out that that intestine issues comes often from cystic fibrosis. So she had
Okay.
cystic fibrosis. And then, so, that's a whole thing trying to figure out
Mhm.
what that means for life going forward. And there are lots of different mutations of the disease, and it can affect your whole body or it can affect just your pancreas. And hers was the whole thing. Like she was going to have the worst of the worst, which means They have to be on enzymes or they can't digest and receive nutrients. It means phlegm in their lungs, just all sorts of really
Mm.
difficult things. So processing all of that, she was doing really well. She grew. We were told that at 5 pounds, she could go home. And so she
Mhm.
got there and she was this cute little squishy tiny baby and just she would hiccup all the time with little like squeaky toy hiccups. It was so cute. And so we were told, yes, she can come home. And then they had actually started her on enzymes. So they have to add enzymes in so that they can digest food. And when they started the enzymes, she ended up with really bad diaper rash. Like really, I have never seen diaper rash so bad.
Mhm.
And so we decided to have the baby shower. We had a baby shower, and I had somebody ask like how Adelaide is doing, and I had this like, well, she's all right, but she's not great right now. It's a little weird. So, um, 2 days later, they after the baby shower, they let us know that there was something wrong, that her intestines have started dying again. So they did another surgery, and it turned out that it was like 98% of her intestines had died. And
Yes.
you can't come back from that. So we held on for a while. Like they said, it's possible that this one little section might heal, but it was not much. It was a day, I think, after that last surgery that she ended up passing away. We got to hold her while she was and sing to her while she was dying, and yeah. So
Oh,
there's that.
Reagan.
She'd be
Mm.
13 in August. So I mean, with relating all of this to meeting, everybody was really supportive. And they even created a bank account to help us pay our hospital bills because 51 days
Mhm.
in the NICU is a really long time. It was a very, very large hospital bill, which of course insurance covered a lot, definitely almost the whole
Mhm.
thing. But the what was left, they helped us pay our hospital bills. And
Mhm.
it was really great. And in
Mm.
our area, I'll say also relating to all of the things that happened, with Brewer and everything, this area specifically hasn't had anything come up,
Mm.
anything like right here. So whenever
Mhm.
we first found out about Brewergate, it was like baffling. Like
Mm.
of course I trusted the same way that everybody else did, that the Holy Spirit was leading the workers and
Mhm.
everything, and then all of a sudden this comes up and it's just this confusion. And so
Mhm.
I remember saying to several people that we were all like just really confused about Jesus looking in on at Israel, at Jerusalem, and saying and weeping over it. But he went in anyway. Like he wept over it. He wanted to fix it, but he went in anyway. And so I felt like just leaving when we see all these issues isn't what Jesus would want us to do. Like he would want us to at least put in some effort to try to make some good changes. Being a 30 somethings, we're too busy to even try to do that. But then you realize how ingrained all of the awful things are. And then we just couldn't do it. We couldn't put the amount of work into it that needed to be done at all. So we
Mhm.
left in February of 25.
Mhm.
And I'd say at this point, I think the Granbury meeting is maybe a third of the size that it was. They've had a few more people leave since we
Mm.
did. So in since then, um, I have gone back to school to get my master's in marriage and family therapy, focusing in trauma. I forgot something. Backtrack to 2018. My
Mhm.
mother-in-law, Anita, she was diagnosed with breast cancer November of 2017. And then she actually passed away really, really fast in February of 2018. And that
Oh,
was
me.
that was devastating for all of us. Like I ended up
Mm-hmm.
taking time off of work and being her hospice nurse because nurse, I'm not trained to do it, but I did
Mm-hmm.
it. And like I can't imagine she grew up in it. Like she's the woman who never cut her hair her entire life. Like it was all the way down to the floor. This beautiful, long, really thick hair.
Mm-hmm.
And meeting was everything. Like it was your whole life. One analogy that I've heard used talking about religion um, is there are certain kinds of, especially Christian denominations, that function like an app on your phone to where you can open it whenever you want to. So on Sunday you open it, on Wednesday you open it, and you keep it closed the rest of the time. I do think that there are a lot of people in meeting that do that. Like you have two
Mm-hmm.
lives, or you can have it be your operating system. Like everything is functioning out of your that worldview. So I would say for Anita, it was her operating system, and I really like thinking about that way. Like even now going forward, like how what is my operating system? Is it my spiritual life? Is that just one thing that I click on in the morning? Or is it part of my whole life? Everything does it inform it all. So I have since gone back to school. I'll start my internship this coming fall, and then I'll graduate a year after that. I have already learned so much. One thing that I especially has struck me is something called ambiguous loss, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
is what the majority of us are feeling. So when somebody dies, it's a very clear cutoff.
Right.
And you can grieve, like this was an end, and now there's moving forward. So ambiguous loss came from initially like missing in action and like the families that don't know what happened to their loved one. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then so for us on the other hand, everybody in meeting, that whole part of our life, they're all still here. They are right there. And then all of a sudden they're just gone. Like they're not part of our lives anymore, but they're right there. So it's something that you
Mm-hmm.
can't, like there's no clear thing to grieve even because we really all lost like a family. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's just been such a like weird, I don't even know how to
Mm-hmm.
feel about it. I'm so glad that it's over because there's so many awful things that are part of the system as a whole that I'm glad we don't have in our lives. But
Mm-hmm.
we lost the connection to these people, and
Yeah.
and they knew so much. Like they were there in these really hard times for us, and
Mm-hmm.
now they're just not.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that happened as we were in those last few weeks of leaving meeting, we were discussing with a few people all the different things that we have issues with. And there's a lot. Like all
Mm-hmm.
these things like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Like, and then because we're still part of meeting, they're open to the conversation. I mean, I'd say that
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
everybody's that way, but some people were open to the conversation. And then after we left, after we decided to leave, we were told, because I had sent some videos of interviews actually and shared them. And I was told, don't send them anymore to me. They're poison to my soul. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so at that point, that actually completely shuts down the conversation to
Right.
where we can't have a conversation about anything that has anything to do with meeting with other churches
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that with these people. So there was a lot of that. Like some people were willing to talk to us and others didn't at all because, and I
Mm-hmm.
know why. It's fear because they're afraid that you're gonna change their mind and they would just rather, like, I don't want to think about it. I just want to keep going
Mm-hmm.
because everything out there is dangerous. It's the world, and it's dangerous. It can
Mm-hmm.
lead you to hell. So I didn't say this. I professed when I was 19, just before I got pregnant. And
Mm-hmm.
I even considered going into the work. Like
Really.
very seriously considered it because it is something that I wanted to do the whole time. And I think that God was like, "Nuh-uh, you're not doing that. Instead, you're getting pregnant. We're gonna nip this in the bud. You need to marry that guy. And this is the path I'm sending you on, not that one." And I'm
Hmm.
like looking back at my whole life, so many awful things, but so many beautiful things that have all like led together onto something. I don't know where it's going from this point
Hmm.
forward, but I like to think of it, and which actually might be the name for my practice when I open it up, a golden thread that runs through my life.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
and
Hmm.
then in some places you might not see the thread so much on one side, but whenever you're like stitching,
Hmm.
you can have thread that's stuck on the other side, and there might be a big long piece. I'm
Hmm.
thinking about like God leaving that excess thread there, so you then can go back to that situation and re-look at it and weave that thread back in and be like, he was there the whole time, and I just didn't see it because he was on the underneath side. Like, I
Hmm.
just can see the thread of my life and where it I
Hmm.
don't see where it's going. I want to
Yeah.
see where it's going, but if I decide where it's going, I can send it off in the wrong direction.
I love this idea that the tangle on the backside of your
Mm,
life is like an opportunity to pause and to, as you sort it out, you see all the goodness and the working and the grace and the mercy of life.
yeah,
Love that idea. And especially on the backdrop of your own story of so much pain and so much loss. I just love to think that, like, the hardship, the tangle is like an opportunity to see the
yeah,
goodness.
yeah. No, I agree so much. Like, you don't know what's under the surface, and we need to heal our memories. We need, like,
Mm,
you can go back to a memory and find healing in that. And I'm really looking forward. I'm only a few classes into my
mhm,
degree, but there's just so much. And like,
mhm,
even with all of this, I want to go into ministry. Like, I might end up getting a
mhm,
second master's degree and do divinity or theology or something like that, because I just have such a hunger for learning more. And
mhm,
there's just so much out there, like so much. It's
mhm.
a well that we can never get to the bottom of, which is amazing. But yeah,
That's
so
incredible.
I mean, this has been like, this week has actually been utterly insane. So today is
Mm.
my birthday, which is
Happy
great.
birthday.
Thank you. I didn't realize that I scheduled this on my birthday whenever I said today. But also, my my mom got a third DWI this past December, and that is a felony in Texas. So my mom was just arrested on Tuesday and is now going to probably be in
Oh,
prison for multiple years. Like,
oh man.
all of these things, like all of
Hmm.
these things, all, and then this past year having left meeting, and it's so crazy. We talking to people outside of meeting about it. They're like, sounds like a cult. And I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's pretty cultish. It depends on where you
Hmm.
were and how
Hmm.
strict they were, what family you came from. I will say that this
Right.
area was not super strict. The women
Hmm.
actually here all wear pants now, except for in meeting, and they cut
Hmm.
their hair, and I see them, they wear makeup and such. But it just depended on where you were.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. So we searched for a while for churches. The very first church that I went to after leaving meeting, I went with my cousin in Odessa, and it was a mega church, enormous. 4,000 people could fit in the sanctuary. It was so jarring. Like, I
Hmm.
was incredibly uncomfortable. But I know that my cousin, like, she didn't understand how I didn't connect to the service or the
Hmm.
worship or anything like that. And so,
Hmm.
but she did. So I will say that all the exclusivism, I kind of mostly, the whole time that I was part of meeting, which was 18 years, I mostly disagreed with it. Every once in a while, I'd be like, but what if that is true? And so, but like leaving now and going to other churches and seeing like people are actually connecting with God in ways that you didn't realize they could, and understanding
Hmm.
that God works in really weird ways, like super mysterious. Like he can talk through a donkey. He can be in a sanctuary that has fog machines and lasers and 40-foot tall screen. Like he can be there too. Who are we to limit where he can work, which is another thing that I was told. I'm a big reader, especially religious things. Like I just want to know. I want to know all the things. So I, in one of my testimonies, mentioned some book that I read that was about God. I can't even remember what it was. It might have even been C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity. So something really basic, like everybody reads outside a meeting. And I was chastised by one of the elders in meeting for, don't you know that the only people that have the spirit are the workers? And which of course I was like, yeah, sure. um
Yeah.
and then a few years, that was probably like, I don't know, 8 years ago. And then a few years back, we sold our house and moved in with my father-in-law, and he saw all of the books that I had, because I had a lot. And he sat me down and said, I don't know that if you've ever been told this, but the workers told me that we shouldn't read anything about God or about the Bible if it's not from a worker, because those people that are writing those books, they just want money from you and they don't have the spirit. I couldn't respond to him. There's this, he was an elder. I had to just go along with what he said. I didn't, because I'm rebellious, and I just moved the books to where he couldn't see them anymore. Um,
Yeah.
so there was always that. I was always rebellious anyway. And our daughter never professed, which I felt really conflicted about. Like, I would go through those, like, well, what if this is really the only way? Um, and then like, she's not a part of it, and then it would be like, that God works in mysterious ways. We have no idea where she's going to be further down the road. But like always, like she wanted to cut her hair, she wanted to dye her hair. And I work at our local community theater. We're surrounded by very different people, like all the
Right.
all the different people that have all been through crazy things, and they're like, I see them and they're broken but they're beautiful, and like learning how to love the difference too. But she sees them also, and she's like, they're awesome people. Like, why can't I cut my hair? And I have to tell her, like, well, God doesn't actually care, because he doesn't care
Right.
what your hair looks like. But I don't want people to talk about you, and I don't want that for you. So we'll cut it just enough to where you can still put it up to where people can't tell. And then it's like, well, I want to dye my hair. And it's like, oof, okay, well, as long as you dye it a natural color, it's okay. And like all of these, so much like just trying to, so people don't think bad of us. Like, it's ridiculous what we go through, and it shouldn't be the case. Um,
And it's exhausting.
It is exhausting, gosh, isn't it? So afterwards, we're now like, I'm going back and really thinking about all the things that I didn't like about meeting, and that I'm learning about now, and saying, like, this is not the way it should have been. One of the things that bothers me the most is the way the workers are treated. And not that they have been, we all know so many workers that have done absolutely horrible things. That's awful, but they're going into this and there's no way out without ruining themselves. So no wonder they're going to hide. They are afraid. There's just so much fear. They're afraid to say anything, because if they do, they lose everything. Like, we know some workers that they had to leave for health reasons. They're destitute. And this is not the way it should be. They should be taken care of. They have given their lives to serving this church, and the church abandons them. Not that the people in meeting would abandon them, but the ministry itself just lets them go. And like, how is that right? And then add in all the CSA stuff to where you can't sue anybody because they have nothing. You can't sue the
Mm-hmm.
organization because it is nothing. Like that is the thing that we realized we can't even try to fix that. The
Right.
only like it's gonna fall apart at some point. I think. Maybe not though. Like I've heard somebody say like what's gonna happen is the the super purists are gonna just go underground, and which is scary. I mean, it's scary to think of. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I mean, we still have family and meeting, and they've been they've been pretty all right about it. I mean, we've had a few
Mm-hmm.
other family members that have left meeting over the years, so I feel like it's already something that they have learned how to cope with. So I don't know, we'll
Yeah.
see. We're still I mean, it's been a little over a year that we've
Mm-hmm.
left, and we've joined another
Mm-hmm.
church, and
Mm-hmm.
my father-in-law found out by looking on Life 360 because we have him on there. So he didn't ask us. He just looked to see where we were and found us on a Wednesday night or a Sunday morning at some church in a nearby town.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Mm-hmm.
it would be a nice conversation to have. Like it would be great if he would just talk to us about it. But Um, so this past weekend, I went on a retreat for mothers who have lost children, and it's a Christian retreat. Ended up being 8 moms total that were there, four of them that put the event on, and four of us that were there, and seeing how all of these other moms. So there were actually two of us that came from meeting that went to this retreat together, and seeing how the two of us handled our grief compared to the other moms was actually it was jarring. Like it was there's the somebody posted about it recently about patiently enduring. That was
Mm-hmm.
so much about who you were as a woman, as a mother in meeting. You just sucked it up and you kept moving on. So you if it didn't have something that you could talk about in your testimony, then it wasn't worth any, like, you don't want to be like
Mm-hmm.
everybody else, and you don't want to grieve like everybody else, because you should have enough faith to know that where your child is okay. And so like seeing these mothers that have these horrible losses, and they fell apart, and they leaned into their grief, which is not necessarily always the healthiest way to do it. But and then
Mm-hmm.
realizing like the two of us, we we talked about it afterwards. You just do what you have to do and you keep moving forward. And I will say that
Mm-hmm.
I repressed some of my grief. Um,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, I repressed it to where other people couldn't see it, to where it was just I just worked on it with me and the Lord, and that was it. And so that I think that's something that's very common. Like
Mm-hmm.
people that have been
Mm-hmm.
abused, you just it's just mine. This is my path, and this is what God has given me to endure, and I'm just going to do it, which can be good. Like it's good that we have that within us, that we feel like we can do hard things. Um,
Yeah.
but not having space for these really tough feelings. That's one thing that I remember my testimony being closer to the end was like, God is okay with your really awful questions. Like he's okay with your horrible
Mm-hmm.
feelings. You feel bad. It's okay. He's there for you for all of that. You are mad
Right.
at him. It's okay. Like he is okay with that. He wants you to
Mm-hmm.
express yourself so he can be there with you in it, instead of
Right.
like, I can't feel anything, we just got to move forward. Which I do think it's just
Right.
also being a mom. You just, she was our daughter
Mm-hmm.
was 5 when we lost Adelaide, so like just keep
Mm-hmm.
trucking. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. A lot of layers there.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah. I I'd say one other thing. I got a degree in music composition, and I remember immediately after I graduated, the thing that I wanted to write was one, musicals, because I'm in theater and I love musicals. But two, I really wanted to write choral music, and specifically
Mm-hmm.
sacred choral music is really what I wanted to write. But I felt like, as somebody that's part of meeting and seeing what the workers are, they don't ever get paid. If I tried to do it and got paid for it, it would be wrong and God would frown upon it. So it's something that I
Mm-hmm.
never did. So it was automatically just like, nope, can't do it because that's wrong. Like all of these things doors that God set
Mm-hmm.
there for us to walk through, and instead
Mm-hmm.
our mindset is like, nope, that's wrong because this is
Mm-hmm.
what the church says. At some point I'll write some sacred choral music because I want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to see that the future is full of lots of books and lots of choral music and musicals and ministry for you. It's
Yeah,
exciting.
it is exciting. It's really like it's hopeful,
Hmm.
even though there's been some like really awful things. It's still
Yeah.
hopeful. Like, I mean, we had to
Hmm.
decide after Adelaide passed away, we had to decide to never have any more kids because it was a
Right.
25% chance that they'd have cystic fibrosis and we just couldn't do it. Um,
Hmm.
and I was 25 when that happened. So like that's young
Yeah,
to be like done with having
it
kids.
is.
And
Yeah.
then, but like maybe we'll foster kids in the future, or I don't know. I
Mm.
don't know what's going to happen. So you can have a lot of really difficult things, and then still you can go back and look at them and heal those memories and see how they can then help other people. Like even the
Hmm.
mistakes that we make, we can
Hmm.
learn from them and help somebody else in the future. And I think that that is like one of
Hmm.
like seeing hate it. I hate it. Seeing these awful things that happen as an opportunity. It
Hmm.
is. And we can do
Yeah.
hard
Well,
things.
we can. And you
Mhm.
have clearly done lots of hard things. I really appreciate you telling your story and taking time on your birthday to let us know a little bit about your perspective. It's been really great.
Yeah.
And I really do hope you have a great birthday.
Thanks. We're going to a pub tonight and I'm going to
Nice.
have some
Very good.
Guinness.
Nice. Very good. Thank you for
Thanks.
sharing about all the grief, but all the joy that's been part of your life.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for putting people's stories out there and encouraging all
Hmm.
the conversations because it's so helpful to so many people.
Hmm.
Everybody here
Hmm.
is definitely, they needed it. They need
Hmm.
people to
Yeah.
understand them, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to go into therapy is like, I think some
Hmm.
people would really benefit. How hard is it to go into therapy and have to explain meeting again and be like, nope, you don't get it. It's actually more like this. And then like, which is why it's like, I'd really like to help people
Hmm.
because I already, like, I know. And it is, people just don't, it's hard to
You know.
understand. It's a very
Hmm.
wibbly wobbly, like, it's just a difficult
Yeah,
thing that we came from. It's weird,
for sure. For sure.
all of it.
Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too.